Start with contracting sprites. Chapter 156, Flaming Feather Form Full Power. There are generally two types of domestic missions. One is related to the primordial area, and the other is related to wanted criminals. The primordial area was nothing more than gathering materials, and the number of missions was also less. But on the other hand, there were many wanted criminals. Sprite trainer criminals at entry level pose a great threat to society, but the power of certain association of sprite trainers are limited. At this time, we need the assistance of students from sprite universities. For example, there were only a few elite-level employees in an city. Class C Arrest Mission. Target, Wang Peng, Li Xiao. Sprite, Poison Mist Mushroom, Intermediate Entry Level, Killer Mantis, Intermediate Entry Level. Intelligence, they appeared in Jianghai town 2 days ago. Requirement, none, recommended to form a team of 2. Reward, 30 credits, included in the final assessment indication. Class B Arrest Mission. Target, Brother Scar, Code Name. Sprite, Leaf Blade Warrior, Advanced Entry Level, Armored Crab, Entry Level Limit. Trace, please contact the Association of Sprite Trainers of Hejian City. Requirements, Elite Level Students, recommended to team up with 2, required mission platform certification. Reward, 200 credits, included in the final assessment indication. Yes. After the reform of the college entrance examination, the college assessment indicators had also changed correspondingly. Su Hao heard that during the last school year, students didn't manage to complete the difficult indicators of the arrest mission. But now they did. They helped the Association of Sprite Trainers to arrest criminals everywhere. It also allowed Sprite University students to gain experience. It was a win-win situation. Well, of course. Ordinary Class B criminals aren't that valuable. The Association of Sprite Trainers from all over the world can't afford to pay such a high price either. A large part of the credits rewarded are the school's support for students. 200 credits could be exchanged for 2 million yuan. But credits were more valuable than Dragon Nation currency. This month, there was a Class B criminal, Mr. Chen, and next month, there might even be a Class B criminal, Mr. Zhang. How could the various associations afford so much money? It was the same even if they applied for reimbursement from the provincial associations. There were also a lot of places for the provincial associations to spend their money on. Right now, all 3 sprites are in the upgrading period. After they digest this batch of resources, I'll bring them to complete missions. Gurgle. Reverie Butterfly looked at him doubtfully. It kept feeling that this sprite trainer was thinking about something troublesome again. Ever since school started, Su Hao had been busy with classes, reading books, earning intelligence points, training sprites and letting the sprites train themselves, etc. More than a month later. In the large outdoor training room. Squawk! The flaming cloud crow, which had just broken through to elite level, danced in the air. Its body was still covered in red and black feathers. It was just that the black feathers were more lustrous. The red feathers were even more vibrant. Su Hao looked at the flaming cloud crow and nodded slightly. Then, he looked at a boy standing not far away who was passing by. He was the sparring partner whom he had hired with his credits. A second-year senior. Junior, are you sure you want my 10,000 vine turtle to attack with its full strength? Based on its degree of spiritual force cyclone, my 10,000 vine turtle is already close to elite level. You can't blame me if your flaming cloud crow gets injured. Of course, the mission is issued through the school's platform. Don't worry, senior. Su Hao added, my flaming cloud crow is very strong, really. The second-year boy smiled and didn't take it to heart. Which Whale Island University student didn't have strong sprites? The flaming cloud crow had just broken through to elite level and had yet to evolve. Even if it had an advantageous attribute, how could it possibly threaten the 10,000 vine turtle that he had cultivated for so many years? This junior was so naive. 10 credits in half a day was really easy to earn. He waved his hand. Let's begin. The 10,000 vine turtle walked to the center of the arena step by step. The vines on the turtle shell waved one by one. Flaming feather form. Su Hao spoke. As soon as it finished speaking, a circle of red light erupted from the flaming cloud crow's body. Feathers stuck up like steel needles. The flowing light flames were like a feather coat, draping over the flaming cloud crow, making its body look twice as large. It was like a small sun emitting light and heat. Even though Su Hao was standing 100 meters away, he could still see the air around the flaming cloud crow, distorted by the high temperature. Even space became a little scorched. Ah, no, hot. Elite level. Infused with profound meaning. It had incorporated the fire seed. Flaming feather form with full power. Its might was more than 10 times stronger than before. The sophomore's eyes widened. What is this? Unique skill? Profound meaning? Secret manual? The key was how did he let the sprite learn it? Isn't he a freshman? Senior, can we begin? Cough, let's begin. Although the senior playing along was a little weak, his dignity as a senior did not allow him to say no. Perhaps, it just looks a little stronger? After all, it has just entered the elite level. He still didn't dare to be careless. Using the contract connection, he gave the 10,000 vine turtle an order to go all out. At this moment, after circling twice in the air, the flaming cloud crow, which was spraying countless flames, flew down with a squawk. It was dragging a beautiful flowing flame tail behind it, which was several meters long. When it dived towards the ground, it even left behind a charred mark. The 10,000 vine turtle counterattacked. Dark green vines whooshed out, and circles of emerald green halos shrouded it like vine dragons. They made slicing sounds in the air. But the flaming cloud crow flew over, its wings of fire extending continuously, like two long blades with flowing flames. The blade rose, scattering sparks. The vines interweaving into a net were all cut off. The second-year senior let out a breath of cold air, but he couldn't care less. He shouted. 3-in-1 energy ball. The 10,000 vine turtle opened its mouth. In an instant, endless green light dots gathered, and 1, 2, 3 green light balls containing powerful energy appeared. The 3 light balls were triangular, connected by vibrating green threads in the middle. It formed a cycle. Its power was limitless. The 3-in-1 energy ball blasted forward. It moved extremely quickly. But the flaming cloud crow was faster. Whoosh! The flaming cloud crow swiftly dodged to the side. The 3-in-1 energy ball hit the flowing flame tail and exploded. Rings of shock waves swept out. Even Su Hao, who was 100 meters away, felt a strong gush towards him. The second-year senior raised his hand to block the wind. His eyes widened as he saw 2 flaming long sabers slashing down. It broke through the protective energy layer outside and landed on the 10,000 vine turtle without any reduction in momentum. Roar! The 10,000 vine turtle was in pain. The vines danced like snakes, and energy balls landed all around. Rumble! The ground shook continuously. A few minutes later. Bang! The 10,000 vine turtle's limbs went limp, its huge body fell heavily to the ground. Amidst the dust and smoke, the fiery red figure rushed up and spread its wings, scattering countless balls of fire. Squawk! Su Hao turned around and saw the second-year senior's face gradually losing its color. He coughed dryly and mourned for his senior for 3 seconds. He didn't know that the 10,000 vine turtle, known for its defense capabilities, was actually so easily beatable. Why did he accept his mission? At this point, the flaming cloud crow still had energy left. With its flaming feather form at full power, its endurance was 3 times greater than before. If they did not break into high-intensity battles, the waiting time could still be extended. It flew down and called out hoarsely. He was asking for credit. Then, it was reprimanded by Reverie Butterfly. Gurgle. 10 credits. It was supposed to be enough to play for half a day, and it should have let it experiment with illusions. The stupid crow broke it within a few minutes. Gurgle. It's too wasteful. Gurgle. What a shame. Gurgle. The flaming cloud crow that was crying out hoarsely became stunned. Chapter 157, Dark Society. 10,000 Wood Manor. When he came here again, Su Hao discovered that the whole forest looked the same. Not much. Not less either. He found it very unreasonable. With the speed at which Senior Wu's goat horn immortal plants trees, it shouldn't take long for the mountains and plains to turn green, but there are still so many trees here. Could it be that Senior Wu is also a part-time wood merchant? The wood produced by a monarch-level sprite should be very high class, very valuable, right? He looked at Reverie Butterfly. Reverie Butterfly was also looking at him. Each of them seemed to have the same thought. But then he remembered that the little rascal wasn't good at expediting plant growth. Gurgle. When Su Hao saw Heavenly King Wu again, he seemed to be under an illusion. His hair wasn't that thick anymore. Senior. Little Junior is here. Have a seat. Heavenly King Wu boiled water and made tea. There was a faint fatigue in his eyes. What's the problem today? No, my 3 sprites are all at a bottleneck now. I'm going to take on some missions and bring them to train. Heavenly King Wu secretly heaved a sigh of relief. As long as he wasn't asking a question. Ever since that day, he had recommended a few unique skills and profound meanings to Su Hao. He had originally thought that these difficult questions would be enough to keep Su Hao busy for the whole semester. Who would have thought? Senior, I don't think one would have to leave an imprint with illusion for the spiritual explosion skill. Movement, sound, and even spiritual force characteristics are all able to do so as well. I've modified it for your reference. Senior, I don't think the 2 profound meanings, burning flame and flaming flame, are suitable for flaming cloud crow. According to my analysis. Omitted 1,000 words. It's best to have a profound meaning that can make its flames flow like water. Senior, my water unicorn has already learned the profound meaning of stacking waves. Is there anything else that it can learn? Senior, here's what I think about flaming feather form. Senior. 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 The series of questions made Heavenly King Wu a little breathless. After so many years, he took out a book to revise again. Several strands of his thick black hair fell off because of this. Difficult. 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 How exactly did little Su's brain grow? Heavenly King Wu sighed. Upon hearing that his junior wasn't here to ask a question, Heavenly King Wu's back seemed to straighten a little. You want to do the mission of arresting wanted criminals, right? With your current strength, completing a Class B mission is enough, but most of the time, you aren't fighting a wanted criminal, but assisting the local associations in chasing and intercepting them. Don't act on your own, you have to know how to protect yourself. He paused and continued. In fact, there are also 2 types of arrest missions. The first is to pursue ordinary wanted criminals. These people usually don't have any trump cards, so the level of danger is relatively low. There's another type. They are the pursuit of terrorists or sprite hunters. Then you have to be extremely careful. Even if the target is only an official sprite trainer, there's a chance that an even stronger person will emerge from behind him. You've been attacked by terrorist organizations before, right? Su Hao nodded. He thought about it and tried to ask again. Senior, how strong are terrorist organizations, exactly? The terrorist organizations, he sighed slightly. The terrorist organizations are like a malignant tumor rooted on our planet. Although they can't be compared to the Union, they caused quite a lot of trouble by hiding in the dark. These organizations can generally be divided into 3. The first is the 10,000 Grays Cult. This organization is very strict and controls the lower levels through brainwashing. The upper levels are also extremely mysterious. He shook his head. The second is God's Hand. There are relatively fewer members in this organization. The top 10 powerhouses are known as 10 Fingers. They are mainly active in the New World and seem to aim to capture some powerful sprites. There are relatively fewer conflicts between them and the Union. But God's Hand once attacked Laboratory Number 2 of the Golden Eagle Federation. The key was that it even succeeded and stole some information. The last terrorist organization is called the Dark Society. In fact, it's considered the collective body of countless small organizations. It has taken in many repeat offense criminals. Its internal affairs are chaotic, and there are many members. There are also many fanatical lunatics. They are the main targets of the Union's siege. On the mission platform of our school, there will occasionally be missions like assisting in destroying the Dark Society's stronghold. Those are considered large-scale missions. There are also hunters, but those sprite hunters are even more clever than terrorists. It's very difficult to catch their traces. Heavenly King Wu gave his suggestion. He would first take on 2 to 3 Class C missions to practice. The platform also needed to be upgraded to accept Class B missions anyway. And take on more difficult missions. Remember, don't hesitate when facing these wanted criminals. If you can't capture them alive, kill them, decisively. Whale Island University, Mission Building. Su Hao had already selected the mission on the Sprite commandeering wristband, but he still needed to go to the mission building to receive it and swipe his student card. Early in the morning, he rode the water unicorn beast over. He saw the grand mission building from afar. And students coming and going. Su Hao walked into the hall and looked up. On the few walls of the mission hall, there were display screens, displaying some missions. After observing for a while, he walked to one of the application windows and handed his student card over. "Hello, I want to accept mission number 0125. The receptionist picked up his student card and tapped it. Information appeared on the screen facing Su Hao. Student, Su Hao, first year. Compatibility rating, Elite. Mission record, none. After some operation, he quickly received the mission. Capture a criminal named Wang Erkan. Fengchuan Village. Including the time wasted on the road, Su Hao spent a total of 4 days on the first mission. The criminal in the second mission was more cunning. He searched a forest for 3 days before he found traces of the culprit and caught him. All in all, it had taken a week. After returning to school, he still had to fill in an application for leave of absence for a compulsory class. The third mission. Die. The wanted criminal in front of him had a ferocious look on his face. His sprite had already fallen, but he suddenly took out a grenade from his pocket and pulled the trigger. Boom! Su Hao was shocked by the explosion. But the water unicorn beast, which was sitting down, had already retreated far away with a kick of its hooves. A water screen appeared in front of itself, blocking the aftershock. The wanted criminal, whose protection ability had already been exhausted, fell to the ground unwillingly, his face blurred from the explosion of the grenade. After completing the 3 tasks, Su Hao was promoted to a 2-star student. He could receive Class B missions. I've seen blood. After all, in the final mission, the wanted criminal's death was tragic. He was about to accept a Class B mission when suddenly, a striking Class B++ mission appeared in the mission hall. Large-scale mission, Dark Society Stronghold. Mission introduction: traces of Dark Society criminals have been discovered in the suburbs of Linping City. Sprite trainers above elite level are needed for assistance now. Mission strength: multiple which are above elite level. Requirement: elite level student, 0/20, certification. Reward: 100 to 500 credits, 1 Class B resource exchange certificate. Remarks: instructor leading the team, mission remaining time, 00, 59, 48. Su Hao was stunned. There was a piercing red light in the whole mission hall. An emergency mission. He recalled that Linping City seemed to be an ordinary city relatively close to Whale Island. Su Hao was considering whether to accept the mission. Without mentioning the credits, that Class B exchange certificate could be exchanged for some limited edition rare resources. He was greedy for it. But this mission is risky. Should he take it? The glaring red light in the hall seemed to indicate that the situation was urgent. After standing for a while, he saw his seniors rushing over after hearing the news. The number of people accepting missions kept increasing from time to time. 1/20th. 3/20ths. 7/20ths. In just 10 minutes, the number of people who had received the mission had already reached half. A boy in white ran quickly into the hall. Suddenly, he stopped in his tracks and turned to look. I's 6 tails on his shoulder also turned its head. They both looked at Su Hao. Chapter 158, Setting Off. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Are you also here for the mission? Su Hao. The boy in white locked his eyes on him. That I's 6 tails swept across Su Hao's head and surroundings suspiciously, but didn't find its enemy, Reverie Butterfly. The man in white in front of him. Su Hao recalled for a few seconds before he finally remembered the other party's name. Bai Hongzhen. The current heir of the Sprite trainer Bai family. Of course, he didn't know anyone from the Bai or any family. He, Su Hao, was just an ordinary college student. How would he know these Sprite trainer families? Su Hao's "I can't quite remember who you are" expression made Bai Hongzhen angry. Ever since his I's 6 tails was abused during the challenge segment, and even beaten down by the big group, Bai Hongzhen had been thinking of blocking Su Hao every day. But it never happened. How would he know that Su Hao would ride the water unicorn beast and walk in the air every day when he went out? It not only trained the abilities of the water unicorn beast, but it also prevented a lot of trouble. But Su Hao was also impressed. Outstanding people always attract a lot of hostility. There's no choice, there's no other choice. He could tell that Bai Hongzhen looked like he wanted to look for him. Oh, to look for his butterfly to fight it one-on-one. Su Hao opened the interface and took a look. Well, this I's 6 tails has become much stronger again. It's not impossible to let it challenge Reverie Butterfly. It can be a free experiment subject. He didn't want those who were too weak. Now wasn't the time. Su Hao pointed at the mission application window. The number displayed on the screen had already become 13/20. The boy in white snorted and still ran to the application window very decisively. Su Hao also walked up. He had considered it carefully. It's definitely more dangerous than arresting ordinary wanted criminals. But if he didn't look for danger, would danger not look for him? After all, this was Dragon Nation territory. With an instructor leading the team, it was already the best opportunity to train. It would be even more troublesome if they encountered terrorists in the new world. This is a good time to show me the difference between the Dark Society and the group of terrorists who attacked the convoy from Year 3. Well, I'm definitely not eyeing the credits reward and exchange certificate. His verification on the mission platform had just reached 2-star, so he accepted the large-scale mission without any problems. About 7 to 8 minutes later, the 20 slots were already full, making many seniors who were a step slower sigh in despair. At this moment, a shiny bald head appeared at the entrance of the mission hall. His bald head was even painted with eye-catching fiery red patterns. This instructor. He knew him. It was Sun Jiaoang, the tutor who taught the fire arts class. A first-level instructor. Senior Wu had instructed Su Hao to ask instructor Sun Jiaoang if he had any questions. Of course, he didn't ask much, but he was pretty familiar with him. It was a reliable instructor. He was relieved. The moment instructor Sun Jiaoang entered, he saw the 20/20 on the screen. He immediately shouted, those who have received the Black Society mission, follow me." Then, he turned and walked out of the mission hall. Instructor Sun Joang was swift and decisive in his work. After doing a head count, he strode towards the parking apron at the side of the mission building with big strides. There were several transport planes painted with the special logo of Whale Island University. "Summon your sprites and bring them along. As for large or slow-moving sprites, summon them when you reach the destination. It's not far anyway." Su Hao spread out his hands and used 2 summons at the same time. A flaming cloud crow about the size of a 20-inch suitcase appeared on the left. On the right, a confused reverie butterfly appeared. It looked at its empty hand and scratched. "Where's my cell phone? I dropped my phone in the villa," gurgle. It widened its eyes and looked at him. Su Hao was unmoved. No, there's no room for discussion." The other participants all summoned their sprites. As the distance was short, the amount of soul power needed to summon was also less. This was so that he could have sufficient strength to respond in battle. The group of people and their sprites boarded the transport plane. On the transport plane, the bald instructor, Sun Joang, swept his gaze across every student, stopping on Su Hao for a brief moment. He said, "Introduce your sprite, level, and specialties." A boy sitting to the left of instructor Sun Joang looked very experienced. He spoke first. "My name is Zheng Yang. I'm in my 3rd year. The 2 sprites I brought along are both high-level elite. They specialize in frontal breakthroughs." Su Hao looked over. The 2 sprites beside this senior, the Great Titan and the Divine Martial Lion, were both metal element. The Divine Martial Lion was the evolved form of the Golden Roaring Lion. Its golden fur was awe-inspiring and very handsome. As it squatted there, it exuded a Lion King aura. "Chong Zhu, 2nd year student. I have a ground wolf that has just entered the elite level, and a mid-level elite squid king that hasn't been summoned. I specialize in ceiling control. Zhou Ting, 2nd year student. Sprites are good at long distance and control." In the cabin, the participants, from left to right, were introduced one by one. Most of them were 2nd year students, while a few were 1st year students. Their gazes drifted towards Su Hao from time to time. Finally, Su Hao introduced himself according to their format. "Su Hao, 1st year, Reverie Butterfly and Flaming Cloud Crow are elite level. They specialize in control, assassination, investigation." The senior students. They kept feeling that something was wrong. Shouldn't it be specializing in long-range attacks? What the hell was an assassination? But since Instructor Sun didn't ask, they naturally didn't say anything. When it was the boy in white's turn, he said, "Bai Hongzhen, 1st year, has 3 sprites, Ice 6 Tails, Sea-Tide Frog King, and Iron-Tailed Prawn. They are all elite level, good at attack and defense." Compared to when school just started, his other 2 sprites had both successfully broken through. Among them, the Sea-Tide Frog King had broken through by evolving. But it was also a breakthrough. After he finished speaking, he looked at Su Hao with a hint of pride. It was as though it was saying, "I have 3 elite level, and you only have 2. Su Hao patted the water unicorn beast's head. When its 2 eyes turned to look at him, he gave it a look. "Look, you've lowered the average standard of our team. Are you going to train harder in the future?" "Water unicorn beast. What has this got to do with me?" After introducing their respective sprites, Instructor Sun divided everyone into teams. They were divided into 5 teams. Su Hao was in Team 4. The team leader was an experienced 2nd year student. After a pause, Professor Sun Joang continued, "Next, let's talk about the Dark Society. Every Dark Society stronghold has at least several elite-level sprite trainers. Depending on the importance of the strongholds, it's impossible to rule out the possibility of a master-level sprite trainer appearing. Therefore, once you encounter danger, I'll allow you to prioritize your lives. But, you also have to try your best to protect your teammates, local law enforcement officers, and ordinary citizens. You are elite-level sprite trainers, elites. You are no longer young chicks protected by others. As he spoke, a voice came from the driver's seat in front. They were arriving at Limping City. The transport plane lowered its altitude and landed on an apron amidst buzzing sounds. The cabin door opened and the ramp was released. Instructor Sun Joang stood up and walked down with big steps. Behind him was a body completely formed by flames. The upper half of the body outlined a humanoid face, a clear outline of muscles, and two thick arms. And the red patterns engraved on it. It had no legs, its lower body floated like a soul. Its entire body was inverted triangular shaped. Sprite, Fire God Soldier. Instructor Sun's ace sprite. As soon as they got off the transport plane, local sprite trainers who had been waiting there for a long time came up to them. Chapter 159, Sealing Operation. Hello, Mr. Sunday. My surname is Zhao, and I'm the Deputy President of the Association of Sprite Trainers in Limping City. Please follow me. The one who spoke was a middle-aged man who looked to be in his early 40s and had a rather big belly. His gaze swept over the team from Whale Island University. When he saw the final form sprites, he was secretly speechless. Everyone knew that famous schools were strong, but President Zhao found out exactly how strong they were today. Less than 2 hours after the emergency call signal was sent, Whale Island University had already mobilized an elite team of 20 people, all students. Many of their sprites. President Zhao estimated that they were even stronger than his own. Old, I'm old. He had long lost the drive to break through to a higher level. He only wanted to settle the matters of the Dark Society properly so that he wouldn't lose his position as the deputy president. The group walked towards the association building not far away. When they were downstairs, they happened to see the doors of a few special transport cars opening. Many sprites jumped down, along with a group of people as young as them. They're from Eastern Cloud University. The team leader of Suhao's fourth team was called Zhou Ming. He was an outstanding second-year student and had participated in similar missions before. He said, the distance between Dongyun Province and Limping City is only about 100 kilometers. Apart from the reinforcements from our Whale Island University, there are definitely people from other universities from Dongyun Province. Zhou Ming looked at Su Hao and Bai Hongzhen. This is your first time participating in a large-scale mission. I hope you can watch, listen more, and not act on your own. A large-scale mission is completely different from an ordinary arrest mission. Bai Hongzhen frowned. He seemed to want to say something, but he didn't. Su Hao shrugged, indicating that there was no problem. Of course, it was safer to team up. The group of people filed in and arrived at the spacious command hall. Many professionals were sitting in front of the computers, communicating, commanding, analyzing, and dispatching manpower. There were also sprite trainers from the local association of sprite trainers, as well as higher UPS from other sectors, who were discussing countermeasures. When Whale Island University's support team walked in, many people's expressions became much more relaxed. In front, Instructor Sun and the other commanders were discussing. Of course, Su Hao and the other students listened quietly and got ready to be dispatched. He observed his surroundings. 3 universities from Dongyun Province came to assist. Among them, only Dongyun University was a key university. There were more than 10 students in the team, but not all of them were elite level. The other 2 were just ordinary universities, with even less students. There were only 3 to 4, and most of them were only entry level. Their main force was the instructors' team. After all, Sprite universities were essentially official powers. The instructors of ordinary universities are mostly veteran elites. Of course, there were definitely master-level instructors. A key Sprite university like Eastern Cloud University even had a Heavenly King in charge. It was just that compared to Whale Island University, the disparity was huge. The same went for the students. A few fourth-year students from Eastern Cloud University looked at the team from Whale Island. Their gazes swept across the Sprites, and then they saw those juniors who were younger than them. Their expressions were complex. At the front of the command hall, a map was shown on the screen. The president of the Association of Sprite Trainers in Limping City stood there and said, "In the eastern suburbs, we tracked the traces of several Sprite Trainer criminals near the Dragon Lake Villa district. After comparing, we confirmed that they are repeat offenders recorded in the case and are related to the Dark Society. After analysis, we have determined that there is a Dark Society base in this area." The map on the screen enlarged, and the range was highlighted with a red circle. It was just a little big. It covered the Dragon Lake Villa district and the surrounding neighborhoods. Those who were experienced frowned. The president continued, "We don't dare to continue in-depth investigations. With the experience of those criminals from the Dark Society, they would be alert at the slightest sign of trouble. Besides, we are surrounded by residential areas. What we are more worried about is the lunatics from the Dark Society going on a killing spree when they see that things are getting hopeless." It wasn't impossible. Those guys from the terrorist organization had countless lives in their hands. They would do anything when they were desperate. But it would be even worse to not do anything about them. They were time bombs that could explode at any moment. Worried that the people from the Dark Society would shift, the strategic meeting didn't take long to be discussed. Instructor Sun came to them and started to assign tasks. Team 1, Team 2, follow me into the neighborhood to look for the Dark Society stronghold. Team 3, Team 4, and Team 5, you will patrol here, here, and here respectively. Pay attention to the escaped Dark Society criminals. The members of the local special battle team will assist you. Ask them about the details. In a minute, we will begin operations." At a main intersection, the traffic police had already set up a stop. In order to stop outsiders from entering and to guide the people inside, out. Further in, the local special battle teams had set up an encirclement. Special battle teams were one of the main forces under the Association of Sprite Trainers. They weren't Sprite Trainers, but they carried special firearms on them. On their wrists, they even wore Sprite Trainer wristbands that could withstand small amounts of damage. They had experience dealing with Sprites. Even so, we still have to rely on all of you students to deal with the wanted criminals of the Dark Society. Don't worry, Captain Fang. A student from Eastern Cloud University said, his tone containing some nervousness and excitement. He looked at the 4 people from Whale Island University. "We'll take the left, you take the right." Zhou Ming nodded nonchalantly. Whale Island University's 4-man team walked forward with a member of the special battle team. Looking around, the road outside the Dragon Lake Villa district was very spacious, but there weren't many cars left at this point in time. After walking for a few minutes, Bai Hongzhen suggested that they split into teams. "If we search like this, when will we discover the criminals of the Dark Society? I think it's best to split up. Every one of us has the ability to defeat and capture elite-level people alive. Moving alone is the most efficient." Captain Zhou Ming shook his head. "No, you're all inexperienced newbies. The reason why Instructor Sun assigned you to my team is that he wants me to take care of you. Yes, you have the ability to defeat ordinary elite level, but how do you know that the people in the Dark Society's outpost are all ordinary elite level? Even if you are stronger than them, how much stronger can you be? Can you defeat the enemy's Sprites in a short period of time? Can you guarantee that they won't capture the hostages and hurt the innocent people? If you can't, what's the point of attacking rashly?" He paused. "Our team has Sprites that are good at defense, attack, control, and investigation. After discovering the target, the best way to deal with it is to control the other party with lightning speed." Bai Hongzhen opened his mouth, but he couldn't say anything. Captain Zhou Ming looked at Su Hao again. "Let your flaming cloud crow scout the sky. At this point, every person and every car is worth suspecting. After he finished speaking, he saw that Suhao's flaming cloud crow still hadn't flown into the sky. He couldn't help but frown. I'm already investigating, Suhao said. The investigative sprite I'm referring to isn't the flaming cloud crow, but the reverie butterfly. Suhao didn't dare to let the flaming cloud crow leave alone to investigate. Zhou Ming. His frown deepened. Even if reverie butterfly had investigative abilities, did that sprite do anything from the beginning to the end when it was lying on top of Suhao's head? There was nothing. He was a little angry until he heard. 200 meters ahead, there's a pedestrian coming out from the corner. There are 2 people about 100 meters to the right. There are 4 people on the left side of the road. They move faster, so they should be cars. Zhou Ming was stunned. The next moment, he saw a pedestrian in short sleeves walking out from the corner of the road ahead. A moment later, another car whizzed over from the left and was stopped by the special battle team who had set up a cart at the back. The way he looked at Suhao had changed. Not far away, a young man in casual clothes got out of the stopped car. He scolded, "How dare you stop my car, do you know who my father is?" But before he finished speaking, a loud boom came from the villa area. The ground seemed to tremble. Suhao looked up into the distance. Chapter 160, Bird of Death. Dragon Lake Villa District. According to the analysis, that was the area where the Dark Society's base was most likely to be located. Instructor Sun Jiaoang, several instructor experts from various schools, as well as Whale Island University's first and second teams, were searching inside. Of course, they didn't need to go door to door to check. Sprite trainers couldn't break into private houses either. But Sprite trainer do things with their Sprite trainer methods. Do you smell any sprites? Instructor Sun summoned his second sprite, an extraordinary 3-headed hound. When it stood up, it was more than 2 meters tall. Sharp fangs were exposed on its mouth, and flames emerged from time to time, making it look ferocious and scary. However, the 3-headed hound looked very tame facing Instructor Sun Jiaoang, with its continuously moving about. A moment later, it let out 2 low barks. 03, 025, 012. Sprite aura exists in these villas. The sprite aura in Villa 036 is very faint, and there are no traces of it anywhere else in the area. He was almost certain. The criminals of the Dark Society were all experienced and knew how to place their sprites in their places. When they reached the next place, they would summon their sprites. They almost never showed up on the streets with their sprites. But they were sprite trainers after all. There would eventually be traces of sprites appearing. Instructor Sun looked at the others. One group spread out and hid in the surroundings, while the other headed straight for Villa 036. At this moment, under the villa, in the spacious basement that had been quietly modified, a man wearing a half-face mask kicked the TV screen, right through the whole LCD display. It's too uncomfortable staying in Dragon Nation. I can't do this, I can't do that. I have to be careful even when I'm out. How annoying. He looked impatient. He snapped his fingers and called his subordinate over to change the TV. Suddenly, his expression changed. Outside, Instructor Sun Jiaoang's fire god soldier led the way, while the sprites of the other instructors surrounded the villa from other directions. They gradually approached. Suddenly, boom! The ground suddenly exploded, and circles of black ripples spread out. The few sprites that bore the brunt of the impact were sent flying backwards, tumbling far away, their whole bodies covered in black spots. It's death ripples. At this moment, on the other side, the fire god soldier waved its hand and blasted out fire dragons. In the hands of an extraordinary level sprite, the usage of unique skills was even more superb. But black light beams shot out of the smoke and dust, clashing with the fire dragon. A big black bird rushed out, its sharp and curved beak pecking at the fire god soldier. The fire god soldier's thick arm puffed up as it punched outwards. Boom! Rings of shock waves swept out in all directions, trees were broken at the trunk. The villa at the back was blasted into pieces. Block the shock wave! Several instructors and students who owned water element sprites joined forces to construct a huge water screen. The water screen absorbed the shock wave and constantly produced ripples. Sun Jiaoang didn't look at the big black bird, but at the villa. A Pegasus with wings broke through the smoke and dust, carrying a human figure as it flew into the distance. It was the wind-chasing horse. The person on the horse was undoubtedly an important figure. Stop him! The fire god soldier that sent the big black bird flying turned into a ball of flames and flew into the sky, revealing its figure in front of the wind-chasing horse. It threw a punch. The wind-chasing horse was smashed straight down, creating a huge pit in the ground. Mr. Sun, is it settled? It's not that easy. Sun Jiaoang was still staring into the distance. That guy should be Ling Jianmu, known as the Death Messenger. Death Messenger? Vice President Zhao was shocked. The Death Messenger was the wanted code name given to him by the Union. It had once caused disasters in many small countries and released epidemics that killed countless people. His representative sprite was an extraordinary bird of death. A bird announcing death. Very strong. He didn't expect that he would actually come to Dragon Nation, and even Linping City. Mr. Sun, the vice president swallowed. Sun Jiaoang said, I'll deal with him, but I'll leave the rest of the people to you. Within the villa area, rumbling sounds kept coming out. The expressions of the surrounding ordinary citizens changed. But the students from the various sprite universities were excited. The operation had begun. At this moment, on one side of the Dragon Lake Villa district, 6 students from Eastern Cloud University were scattering their sprites around to intercept any suspicious people. Huazi, have you found any suspicious targets? Boss, so many people are fleeing outwards. It's hard to tell. A student with a flying sprite spoke with a bitter expression. The boss of the group thought about it. Let's split up and investigate one by one. We can't leave out any suspicious people. He looked far to the right. Whale Island University is even less staffed. I heard that 2 of them are first-year freshmen, so they probably aren't very reliable. When we're done here, we might even need to go and assist them. They're only first-year students, how can they be a match? After all, he's a student of a prestigious school and elite level. There shouldn't be much of a problem. I'm just afraid that they'll miss out on a wanted criminal. At this moment, south of the villa area, towards the right, several people with panicked expressions ran out of the gate of the neighborhood. The one wearing blue clothes in front with his hands in his pockets should be a sprite trainer. Su Hao spoke. According to its description, Reverie Butterfly's spiritual perception could see balls of light representing spiritual power. They were of different sizes. The little rascal was very talented in spiritual aspects, in addition to his help. Well, his help was more important. Reverie Butterfly had already trained its spiritual perception unique skill until it was very familiarized. Not only was its positioning accurate, it could also slightly distinguish the strength of the light ball of spiritual force. Sprite trainers, with the feedback of sprites, would definitely have higher quality in all aspects. It didn't matter if they caught the wrong person. At least it reduced the target. A few people approached. The man in blue clearly panicked and ran to the other side. Stop right there! Bai Hongzhen shouted. His ice 6 tails immediately pounced forward and shot out ice alls one after another. The ice alls broke in the air, cold air spread, and then froze into an ice pillar cage, locking the blue-clothed man. Done. He looked at Su Hao. However, Su Hao wasn't looking at him. Instead, he was looking into the distance. Suddenly, a ground wolf leaped over the wall of the neighborhood and quickly escaped into the distance. There was a figure lying on the back of the wolf. At the same time, figures and sprites leaped out of the other areas. 5 sprites, 3 people. Su Hao said. Zhou Ming and his sprites attacked one after another. Bai Hongzhen summoned the giant Tide Frog King and blocked a giant armored crab with a boom. The winner of the battle between the 2 sprites couldn't be decided in the short time. Suddenly, a man rushed out from behind the giant armored crab and ran into the distance at an extremely fast speed. Just as Bai Hongzhen ordered his sprites to intercept it, he discovered that the giant armored crab raised its pincers and charged towards the crowd at the side. He suddenly panicked. Stop it, no, stop that sprite! But it was still too slow. The elite-level giant armored crab moved with a bang, approaching a panicked woman in the blink of an eye. Right at this moment, a red stream of light flashed past Bai Hongzhen's eyes. It left a line of fire in the air that didn't disappear for a long time. The giant armored crab had already stopped. A red line appeared on its pincers and broke it with a boom. The red stream of light revealed its figure in the air and swooped down again. The figure split into 2, from 2 into 4. It interweaved into a fiery red net. Boom! The giant armored crab fell. Bai Hongzhen looked on in a daze until his eyes 6 tails called out. He came back to his senses and saw a few men rushing out of the gate. They were actually tied with explosives. Careful! He saw Su Hao riding the cloud water horse, blocking the door. A few madmen who were tied with explosives rushed over. A transparent light shield suddenly appeared on their bodies, then quickly disappeared. The next moment, thud, thud, thud. The fierce-looking criminals fell one by one. As for Su Hao, he had been sitting on the water cloud horse's back the whole time. His expression was calm, and he didn't move at all.